So for today's session, I'm going to start with these 3 questions. My first question is, when was the last time you had a job interview? Do you remember any particular questions you were asked? And how did the interview go? I know this is a lot of questions, but think about your job interview experiences in the past, right? If you cannot remember the last time, you could talk about the time that you could remember well, maybe something that went well or something that gone so bad and you want to talk to your friends about this. So I usually start off with these questions to warm you up and get to know your friends. So what I'm going to do is I will put you in a breakout room. Since we have 6 participants, so I'm going to put you in a group of 2. So you will talk about these 3 questions. So when was the last time you had a job interview? What about the questions that you were asked and how did it go? So you're going to be put in a breakout room. It's going to be a great time for you to start getting to know. Okay. All right. I know what it is now. Hold on 1 second. Here we go. Okay. I already removed him. So he's not going to be. I have to deal with one of these. Sorry about that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I have 5 participants. So it's going to be 2 rooms. 1 room will be 3 people. So do not worry about it. If you're in a group that has 3 people, I'll give you extra time to talk to your group. All right. So just click join button and you will be right with your group.
Great. All right, good. I hope you guys had some times to talk to your friends, and then I like to see some smiling on your face. That means you had a good time. So what we're going to do today is I will give you some practice for some listening. So I'm going to play you an audio from a gentleman who had an experience in job interview. And then while you're listening, thank you, Alina. While you're listening, I want you to focus on 3 questions. So these are the 3 questions that I'm not supposed to show you an answer. These are the 3 questions that I want you to focus on. First one, what kind of questions does the interviewer ask? Second, what particular details does the candidate remember about the team? Third one, in general, how does the candidate feel the project went? So these are the 3 questions that I want you to focus on when you listen to this audio. Are we ready? Do you want to get some paper or anything at all? Maybe you want to start taking notes. All right, so these are the 3 questions. What question does the interviewer ask? What details the candidate remember about the team? And how does the candidate feel that the project went? Right, let me do this. You pretend that you don't see the answer. So here we go.
15.3.
Can we all hear well? If you hear it, thumbs up. Yes, awesome.
Yes.
Awesome, good, thank you.
Yes, yes.
There we go. Actually, there's a questions over here as well. So you can look at the question here. Here, these are the 3 questions, right? What questions are 1, 2, and 3? Here we go.
Now, I'd like to ask you something about your current job. What's one thing about your job that you found challenging, and how have you dealt with it?
Oh, right. When I started the job, one of my first tasks was to lead a small team of 3 people. We were working together on a small project, but the problem was we were all quite different characters, so it was quite hard to get everyone to work together well. In particular, I remember that one of the team was very independent.
So, how did you deal with that?
After I'd got to know everyone better, I started giving each person tasks which I thought would appeal to their strengths and interest. So, for example, I gave the person I mentioned research tasks to do on his own, and then he had to report back to the group at our weekly meeting. Overall, I found that worked fairly well.
So, you'd say you dealt with that challenge?
Yes, in general, I'd say the project was a success. Certainly, I learnt a lot from it.
All right. I apologize. It was a she, not he. So this person has a British accent, right? So
Yes.
yes, it is very important nowadays when you teach, when you learn ESL class, right? You experience different accents. I have an American accent, of course, because I grew up here. But then sometimes when you hear other accents, you have to be familiar with those accents as well. So I'm gonna play one more time, and this time I'm gonna pause in between so that you can get to understand what would be the answers for number one. So number one, what question does the interviewer ask? I'm gonna play it, I'm gonna pause and see if you can get that answer.
15.3.
Now, I'd like to ask you something about your current job. What's one thing about your job that you found challenging, and how have you dealt with it?
So question number one, what question does the interviewer ask? Anybody want to try to answer?
What was that one challenge that she faced during her past job?
Excellent. All right. I heard the keyword challenging, right?
Yes.
Right. So the challenging that she had in her last job that she has to deal with, right? Good. Excellent. All right. Let's continue. Listen to number two.
Oh, right. When I started the job, one of my first tasks was to lead a small team of 3 people. We were working together on a small project, but the problem was we were all quite different characters, so it was quite hard to get everyone to work together well. In particular, I remember that one of the team was very independent.
So number two, what particular details that the candidate remember about working with her team?
Team workers are very independent.
Yes, the team was very independent, right? And everybody has a different characters. Excellent, Eddie. Good job. Number three, how does the candidate feel the project went?
So, how did you deal with that?
After I'd got to know everyone better, I started giving each person tasks which I thought would appeal to their strengths and interest. So, for example, I gave the person I mentioned research tasks to do on his own, and then he had to report back to the group at our weekly meeting. Overall, I found that worked fairly well.
So, you'd say you dealt with that challenge?
Yes, in general, I'd say the project was a success. Certainly, I learnt a lot from it.
So last one, how does the candidate feel the project went?
It was a great success.
It was a success. Anything else? She learned a lot as well, right?
Yes, yes.
Excellent. Very good. Good job. So this is how you would try to familiarize yourself with different accents. So great job. One of the things that you might hear it, but you might not notice it of what is the question is all about. Some of the questions and some of the answers, we call it generic, generalize versus specific. This is very important, right? When you talk or speak in English, If you want to express something in general, right, usually you will use these phrases. Generally, all in all, mainly, mostly, in general, generally speaking, overall, right? In the audio, you heard that she said overall, it was a success and she learned a lot, very generalized. But if you want to talk about something specific means very, maybe like things in particular or event in that specific time. People use the words like particularly, especially, specifically, in particular, right? I don't know if you heard my pronunciation. I know that it looks like especially, specifically, but we don't pronounce it like that. We shorten the word specifically, right? We omit the A sound over here, especially. For example, right, when you were asked about your specific experience that you think it's your strength, you could say, oh, I am very strong with, my strength is organization. I'm talking about myself, especially I always take notes of what I want to accomplish each day. And I particularly concentrate on those tasks for each day. Specific. So what you're gonna do today, before I break you into a group, I want you to practice changing these sentences into either specific or general. For example, number one, let's do number one together. I prefer to travel by train. This one, it's general or specific?
Specific.
Specific.
Yeah, sure, okay. It's okay, let me put this way. Let's try to change this sentence to something general. If you want to talk about something in general, you would change the sentence to, I generally prefer to travel by train. In general, I prefer to travel by train. But as some of you said, if it's a specific, how would you change it to specific? You can say, I specifically prefer to travel by train, right? Using that specifically, I particularly prefer to travel by train. Any of those are fine. Yes? Okay, let's do number two. My company does more and more business online these days. Let's change to general. How can we change to general? Anybody wants to try?
Generally, my company does more and more business online these days.
Excellent. Generally, right? Or you can use the word like overall. My company does more and more. In general. Excellent, Eddie. Good job. Number three, we communicate in English at work. How about we change it to maybe specific? Anybody?
Specifically, we communicate in English at work.
Very good. Specifically, we communicate in English at work. I heard somebody else want to say anything. Was that Alina? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you already said, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, good, good. What about if we want to change it to general? How would you say it in general? Anybody? We can say something like, we mostly communicate in English at work. right? Mainly, we communicate in English at work. Number 4, my last holiday was relaxing. This one very specific, right? Last holiday. So how do we change it to specific? Anyone?
My last holiday was specifically relaxing.
Excellent. Specifically, especially, very good. Good job, Eddie. Last but not least, I'm happy with my job at the moment. This one more like general, right? So how can we change it to general?
All in all, I love the job. I forgot the word.
Yes, good, good. All in all, I love the job. I'm happy with my job at the moment. Good. I'm particularly happy with my job at the moment. It's good, right? Specific, you can talk about both. Good. So there's no right or wrong. How you gonna say, how would you like to say specific or general? But this is the most important slide, right? If you want to talk about something general, generally, all in all, mainly, mostly, specific, particularly, especially, specifically, in particular. These words will help you to make it as a strong words, especially when you go on a job interview. You want to show your confidence, right? So last exercise, today I'm going to have you try to do a role play. I want you to imagine that you are in a job interview. I want you to take turns and answer the questions. These are the sample questions. You don't have to use these questions, but the idea is I want you to practice using words for general and specific. So some of the questions that you could think of and ask could be like, how do you feel about working on your own for long periods of time? Right, so one person asks, the other person could say, oh, generally, oh, especially, things like that. Number 2, what would you say is one of your main strengths as an employee? This is a very popular question, right? Whenever I have a job interview for the teacher, this is one of the questions that I would ask. Number 3, how confident are you about taking responsibility and being in charge of other people? If you are interviewed in the role that you're going to be a supervisor for somebody, this is a very important questions to know. So I want you to practice using general and specific words. I'm going to put you into a breakout room. This time I'm going to switch you around so you not practice with the same people. So same thing, it will be one group that has 3 people. So I'm gonna move the person